Hello and welcome in to Leading Off. I'm the Welsh. That is Joe Orrico with an abrupt open of chaos this morning on StreamYard. No, Joe Pisapia. It is just the two of us, the Orrico and the Welsh, and we are glad to be here, even though there's a little bit of chaos. Welcome in, and we want to remind you guys, if you guys are on Twitch, you can not only be subscribed, twitch.tv/FantasyPros, but get those subscriptions in so you can watch live. And you can also have an opportunity, I guess is on the YouTube side, for that Juan Gonzalez autographed jersey, which we got for you guys. Comment on videos on the YouTube. So watch live, go to YouTube, bing, bang, boom. When you do so, you have an opportunity to win that Juan Gonzalez autographed jersey by just making a comment and being subscribed. And there's like 2 days left. There's only 2 days left, so make sure you do it. And I don't know if we have the graphic or where the graphic is, so you guys can see that beautiful jersey, but it is floating out there. So go and subscribe today. There it is. There we go. I don't know what's going on there. Win that Juan Gonzalez signed jersey. Subscribe, comment. It could be yours. 2 days left. Only 2 days. Mr. Joe Orrico, you are the Joe of the day. How are you, buddy? With our abrupt ending and that background, by the way. Everybody noticed you got the official. You're officially official with the Fantasy Pros background.
I have been looking like I've been streaming from like the basement of a prison for the last year on this show. So it's nice to be official now. Yeah, it looks nice. I think it's looking pretty good. We got it all set up and clean and tidy. So yeah, let's get into it, buddy.
We got a lot. There is a ton going on. Obviously, there's a huge suspension that's looming out there. Trade rumors abound. We are like 2.5 days pretty much onto the trade deadline. So there's so much going on, but there is a little bit of a world of sadness that is floating out there. I want to bring this up here because deeply saddened because we had the passing of Hall of Famer Ryne Sandberg yesterday, which happened just in the middle of games. This is a really good thing. As Joe wrote this here, the beloved Cubs second baseman was a 5-tool model of consistency in the 1980s, early 90s. 10 consecutive all-star teams, won 9 straight Gold Glove awards. On June 23rd, 1984, a national TV audience watched Sandberg hit a pair of game-tying homers in the 9th and 10th innings off of Cardinals closer and future Hall of Famer Bruce Sutter, part of the magical Cubs postseason run. The game literally is going to forever remember him in Chicago as the Sandberg game, and he went on to win the 1984 NL MVP award. I was 1 year old, by the way. A lot of other really incredible accolades, and it's just brutal to see. Sandberg had been fighting and battling cancer for 2 years. I believe it was just as of recent too, within the last year. I think I saw something where he was doing some interviews and they had said that the cancer had cleared out. You know, like he was good. He was getting a good bill. He was in a I guess it would be like a remission state that he was at. And obviously things got a lot worse. An interesting fact about Sandberg too, that people don't know in the autograph world was he was one of the most famous for people that would write to him and he would autograph stuff and send back. He was doing it. And this is the real thing. He was doing it up until like a week ago. Like in this entire battle, he was still responding to fans, sending stuff back to them, doing it only weeks ago. It's just definitely brutal and a big loss for baseball, Joe.
Yeah, being as young as I am, I didn't get to actually watch Ryne Sandberg. And it's weird because growing up as a kid, I would really dive into the stats. And he was one of those players where before I really knew what I was talking about, I looked at his career and I was like, this guy was a Hall of Famer. You know, he didn't have 300 home runs. He was a 285 hitter. Growing up, I wasn't all that impressed by the stat line, but he's one of those players that as I got more and more into the statistical side of baseball, you really learn to appreciate him. A second baseman with an 800 OPS who won an MVP. He had a 40 home run season. He's 11th all time in second base WAR. Ahead of guys like Roberto Alomar, ahead of Biggio, ahead of Jackie Robinson. Like he was a hell of a ball player. So it's a very sad day for baseball as a whole.
Yeah, I think there was a video too of Wade Boggs, who was the same class, was just tearing up and stuff like that. It's just brutal. I mean, time goes on, we have these type of things, but also just very young, very, as someone who is in their 40s, seeing that, someone passing away in their mid 60s, you're like, nope, way, way, way too young. So a baseball great and great person off the field, as far as everything I have heard, and lost to everybody pretty much. So Ryne Sandberg, 1959 to 2025. Not the type of thing you ever want to talk about or lead up into the show, but it's also very good to, remember all the different pieces. There's also a great video that dropped from this spring training. I wish I had been there, where Sandberg was at spring training and Sean Dunston and Mark Grace surprised him and showed up, and they had this fun reunion that happened, and that would have been really cool to be around. But we definitely going to remember Ryne Sandberg, and hate to see that loss. Jumping into the other things, there's more losses, but not in the same magnitude. Emmanuel Clase, Mr. Joe Orrico. This happened 3 minutes after the show ended yesterday. We went long yesterday. We had a long show. It was almost 50 minutes. 3 minutes after the show ends, we get a bomb drop on us that Emmanuel Clase with the Guardians, all you guys know this essentially at this point, so we'll talk about the inner workings, but he was placed on a non-disciplinary paid leave through August 31st because the exact same thing as Luis Ortiz. It is due to a sports betting investigation. Jeff Passan reported Emmanuel Clase had, I'll go into the stat here in just a minute, but it's exactly like Ortiz. And if you guys remember, Luis Ortiz ended up having it pushed, I believe, also to August 31st as they continue to go on here. They didn't go into the details, but I've got a stat for you that I actually pulled yesterday for Joe, or I found Foolish Baseball was doing it, and super interesting. But they didn't say exactly what it was, but we know this is going to be on, most likely, individual weird betting on pitches, just like Luis Ortiz. I think there were 2 weird instances of really high, crazy betting. So for just a second, before I get into the nuts and bolts of it, my immediate reaction in the fantasy space, Joe, was you have to run, not walk for Cade Smith. That's the first thing. Emmanuel Clase is a cut in my mind. You can be done with him. Don't even bother. He's not playing again this season, regardless of the 31st thing. Cade Smith should jump in and be the guy. He could be traded. I think it's less likely now because I don't think they wanted to move both. I think he is borderline a top 10 closer right now immediately. So let's start there. A, should you cut Clase? And B, should you run, not walk to pick up Cade Smith?
I'm fine to cut Clase. I would be absolutely shocked if he ever throws a pitch again in Major League Baseball at this point, based on what we've seen. He might be getting a ban. So for this year, for sure, he's a drop. No question there. The thing with Cade Smith is that he's actually been struggling a little bit as of late. He got knocked around yesterday, which worries me a little bit. I think he's still the pickup. But there's the other reliever out there in Cleveland that might get some run as well, Hunter Gaddis. I think if you've missed out on Cade Smith, Gaddis might be a decent backup option there, just because Smith has struggled a little bit recently. Don't get me wrong, Smith is still an elite reliever, but should he get traded if the Guardians tend to tear it all down? Or hell, there's another, the other part of the story that Hector Gomez tweeted was that other Guardians pitchers are also being investigated, and we're going to hear the names later this week. So who knows? Maybe Cade Smith is among them. I don't know if you saw this one, Welsh.
When did that happen? Because yesterday the report was that there are no other pitchers with the Guardians. That was the official report, that there was not another single pitcher or no other player involved. So yeah, I didn't even hear about this.
That's what the Guardians said, and I think it's probably because they can't say, well, we got 13 more coming. They kind of had to just
well, they could also not say anything if they have more players coming. So that doesn't make sense.
That's what they probably should have done. But Hector Gomez last night tweeted, other Guardians pitchers are being investigated for MLB sports betting. According to the source, the names of the pitchers involved will be revealed in the coming days. So this is a mess, man. This could be the whole pitching staff. This could be a couple other guys. Maybe it's, I don't know. Tanner Bybee's been pretty terrible this year. Slade Ciccone can't strike out you and me. Who knows how deep this goes? But it's just crazy that it's one team that's just got so into the weeds here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for that because I want to see that because I did not see that.
I'll tweet it to you.
Yeah, please do. All right, but let's get into the nuts and bolts of what is going on here. So the situation with Luis Ortiz was two unusual pieces of betting activity on first pitches. Likely the same thing that's going to go on here. Foolish Baseball put this out, which, by the way, I'm going to just preset this to say that I immediately talked about this on shows, and I'm still looking for where they found this. But there is a stat called waste percentage, and it's essentially a non-competitive pitch. Okay, so great. So a guy throws it in the dirt, is way off the zone, whatever. That's like just a not even hittable, non-competitive pitch. So there's a waste percentage stat, which totally makes sense. I for sure the hell could not find it anywhere going through Baseball Savant or Fangraphs, but they quickly found it. And in that, an interesting stat arose. So I'm going to work my way backwards here because there's a 2024 piece of this where you have all your pitches because we can use Clase really easy in the ninth inning. You have the very first pitch of the inning in the ninth, and then we have all the other pitches. In 2024, I'm going to use a roundabout here because I don't have it in front of me. It was essentially the very first pitch that he threw in the ninth inning in 2024, about, let's call it 5%. 5% was a waste pitch. So 5% he threw was kind of like a trashy pitch. All the other pitches besides the first, almost the exact same number, about 5%. It's like, 4 point, whatever, blah, blah, blah. This year, let's work a little different. All pitches that aren't the very first pitch of the inning, it was 4, maybe last year was 4. It's like 5.2. Let's again, I'm using small averages here, but you'll get the point. Let's call it, or actually, I have this exact one. Yeah, it is 5.2. I'm good. 5.2, every other pitch but the very first pitch. The very first pitch of the ninth inning this season, a 17.5% waste pitch. So that's dramatic. That's huge. Last year, they were both about the same. There's an over 10% difference between the very first pitch he throws in the ninth. It's almost 20% of the time he throws just some absolutely garbage pitch. That's out of the norm. And that does stand out. Now, is that the reason that you're guilty? No, not necessarily. I wanted to find this leaderboard of all this because I want to see like who's the most egregious, what's the biggest gap between all the other pitches versus the first pitch. I can't find it anywhere. So someone let me know. I'd love to dig into all of that. But that's the type of stuff that like goes, ooh, to a guy like Emmanuel Clase, which none of that is important because at the end of the day, they're going to tie it to an unusual betting pattern to an individual pitch. And any comment on that? Do you think the waste percentage is like do you think that's an overblown thing or do you think that's a little bit telling?
So it's not a stat that I look at all the time. So just seeing a number, it's not like strikeout rate or barrel rate where we have like averages in mind. Something that does stand out to me a little bit is looking at that tweet that Foolish Baseball sent out yesterday. There was a reply from Kyle Bland, who is one of the developers at Pitcher List. Really, really smart dude. And he was saying it doesn't seem to be a big obvious outlier, that waste pitch percentage. From what he was looking at, it seemed more to be, it was a high number, but not like a huge outlier. The thing that will get him is if somebody's placing like 6-figure bets on first pitch of the inning.
Course.
That's where it'll come from.
Of course.
So I don't know.
And that, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. You're good.
No. That's of course, like that's like the other thing outside of the like waste percentage doesn't tell you anything that outside of, if you look at 2024 to now, in that he is throwing a lot more non-competitive garbage first pitches. That's the only thing that's telling. But then you start to tie it in. What would be the correlation to that? Now you go to, there's an unusual betting pattern. The only other take on this, because there's really not a whole lot. But by the way, I do see the report from Hector Gomez, and that is going to be wild if that's true. The only other thing to throw out here is, I did this on the In This League show yesterday, is if you tie it in at all to the Tuca Peter Marcano and the other guy incident. So you had 5 players, 4, it was like Andrew Saul, Frank, and some other dudes, that they were suspended for a year. Tuca Peter Marcano was suspended for life. What's the difference between the two? There was a combination of the other 4 players had $2,000 in total bets. that were put out there versus Tucupita Marcano, who had over $150,000 in bets. Yeah. There could be an element of he bet on the Pirates, they didn't, but there's also a magnitude of bets. The point to this would be is it is different because it's probably not, whatever, an account on a book that's like CLE Emmanuel Clase 123's account. But if they tie it to, let's say, someone that is a family member and you have these large amounts, I do think you're facing lifetime bans based on the Tucupita Marcano situation of large amounts of money. It was his personal account. If you have $15,000 to $20,000 on individual pitches that are going to be put out there, and let's say it's a cousin, I don't know where baseball will lean. So I think there's a high probability that guys like Emmanuel Clase could be suspended for their career. But if they've got, 3 levels of people between them, that could be the protection where they say you're going to get a year ban or slap, but you're not going to have the career. So I don't know which direction it's going to go, but I'm leaning that this is going to be severe. And it kind of sounds like you're doing the same.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is going to factor into it at all, but Emmanuel Clase also has a PED suspension under his belt. So the league might just be like, okay, you know what? This guy is trouble. I don't know if they can even tie those two things together necessarily, but I think he's going to get a lifetime ban from what we've seen here. Or at the very least, he's going to miss quite a while. Like in a dynasty league, would you drop him or would you wait for more?
No, you got to wait till you're not going to do that. You got to wait. You got to wait till you see information. You don't have everything. Like we still don't even know what the activity. I mean, we assume we know what it is, but it's been one day. So no, redraft, you're good. He cannot pitch until the 31st. He will not pitch. Dynasty, you hold. It's a super messy situation. And if the Hector Gomez thing is as well, I mean, they might be waiting to drop that news until some big massive trade comes down so they can, I don't know how they can try to bury it. They're going to drop it on a Friday or something like that, but baseball is going to want to bury that if it is bigger than that. But brutal stuff. Emmanuel Clase, no bueno. All right, we got a bunch of other stuff here. A lot of time on Clase here. Getting through the other big pieces of news. Spencer Strider worked 5 innings, allowed 2 runs Monday in a win over the Royals. Strider still is kind of, we haven't seen like quintessential classic Strider, but fastball, and his fastball was down a little bit in this one. Any concerns on Strider, or where do you have Strider rest of season as far as your pitching ranks go? Is he top 10, top 15, top 20?
I think he's pretty close to being top 10. I did this whole thing with Spore and Justin a couple weeks ago, and we convinced Paul to move him up a little bit. And I think we ended up around like 12 or 13 or so. Like there was a couple of shaky starts when he first returned. If you look at what he's done since May 27th, you cut out those first 2 starts. It's a 3.42 ERA. He's got a 30% strikeout rate, a 120 whip. He's not quite prime Strider like a couple of years ago yet, but I feel like, he's still somebody that you can he's an absolute must start regardless of format every single time, no question. There's not really any concern for me. I think by next year we'll see him back to that vintage Strider form again.
I agree with the next year thing. I do get concerned about the velo down with a guy like him at any point, but I think you're going to see variations of it in general. So it's not too big of a worry. There were some young pitching performances. Jacob Misiorowski, once again, not allowed to go deep. Definitely going to be a problem. And I would say this is definitely one of the things why I have been looking at trying to maximize and get out. If you can get some crazy haul in our second half draft, he went in the second round. It's absolutely crazy, but he can't go deep right now. I mean, he's failing or needing just around 80 pitches. He only got to the 4th. Strikeouts are great. Demolished any of my betting stuff yesterday. Struck out 7 against the Cubs. He gave up 3 runs, 2 were earned, but he just can't go deep into games. You also had Cam Schlittler, who allowed 3 runs on 7 hits and 4 1/3. So he failed to go into the 5th. He's throwing a lot of strikes, which was nice. Forcing fastball percentage was really high. He was kind of unhittable early on, and then things started unraveling a little bit. And Eduardo Cabrera, 2 runs on 4 hits in 6 innings. Definitely could be a trade candidate. Jacob Misiorowski, just real quick, we don't have to hit on all of them, but where's Misiorowski ranked actually? Misiorowski versus Strider. Do you think that him not getting deep into games is enough where you do need to get out from the hype or it keeps him from being a top 20 pitcher, something like that?
Yeah, he's not he's not quite that high for me. Like I've had some concerns about the command. You know, he's a rookie. Rookies are going to have some struggles. The pitch limit thing. I mean, 80 pitches isn't too bad. If he's a little more efficient, you could see him getting through 5+ innings on that. But considering how many guys he walks, I think it was only 2 yesterday, but I would take Strider easily if it's a one versus the other question there. I don't have any big problems about Misiorowski. Somebody asked me the other day in a 10-team league if they should drop him just because you're not going to really get that many wins, probably, et cetera. But I wouldn't drop him anywhere. Like he's absolutely must roster pitcher. I just think for me, he's more 25 to 30 range as opposed to top 20, but I still like him.
Yeah, I want to say it's like in the 25-20 range. He gets pushed back up, but I think, they're doing this now. See, okay, there's an element to like July is the time to baby innings and stuff where then you could just let a guy go if you've done the math properly. They do need him, but something I think that would be very telling is if this team were to go make a move and get like another starter. Like they are clearly in the works of talking with potentially like Eugenio Suarez. If they were to get a Kelly or something like that, that would tell me a story of a team that can't trust just based on health management, Misiorowski. But if they were to go and trade like Logan Henderson for Suarez and do nothing else, that would actually, the trade deadline would tell me based on that they are going to have the trust on Misiorowski full on the rest of the way through, and they're just babying this situation right now. So it's a little bit dicey, and unfortunately right now might be the worst time to even think about moving him because he's had multiple outings of failing to go 5, and people might be starting to feel that. You needed to do it before, but just be a little bit on the lookout for that. A couple comments. This one, I wanted to bring this up because I almost forgot about this. But Lucius had mentioned, did you see the tweet LASIK posted? It's hilarious, but these umpires are terrible. Yeah. I think officially might have been the worst call of all time in baseball yesterday. We joke about, and I wish we would have pulled the art for it. I didn't think about it. You talk about like, oh, this ball was all in the zone, or hey, this ball was, a foot outside. There was a pitch yesterday. Dead center. I mean, we're talking like dead red. It's not hugging a corner. It's not on a little piece. It was in the middle of the plate. You can't be more middle. And it was called a ball. And everybody stood there just going, what are we doing? What robo umps, please. I don't care about the whole, there's that stuff with Bryce Harper yesterday and Rob Manfred and, salary caps. And they apparently, Bryce Harper told Manfred in a meeting to get the hell out of the room in different choice of words if they were going to even talking about that. Yeah. But like, no matter what they do, salary cap, you don't do it, you do it. We have an international draft. The one thing you have to do is robo ump it. You've got to do challenge robo ump something, because like, for that to happen and these guys not be able to tap their head and challenge it, that they should even have to challenge it, by the way, is disgusting. I don't know if you saw that pitch, Joe. It was wild. Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
It was the Jays game, and it was Zach Eflin, who's been one of my favorite pitchers for years. So I was watching that one, and I couldn't believe it. The way that I understand why the way that I've tried to reconcile it anyway, is that the catcher had to do one of these, right? He had to he was set up on the outside. The pitch was down the middle, so his arm had to reach out. And I think all that the umpire sees is, oh, he had to reach for that ball. And they don't even care where the plate is. They just see that the catcher has to reach, and it's a ball for them. They've gotten very lazy, and maybe part of it is they know they're getting replaced and they don't care anymore. And they've also got the best job security in the world. We saw Angel Hernandez back there for 30 some odd years, just running him back out every year. They know they're not going to get fired. So I don't think they have any incentive to care, especially knowing that they're going to be pink slipped in the next year or so.
I wonder if, people are joking about it in here. I wonder if there's ever been like an ump or of recent that they're investigated at all, if there's unusual betting activity.
There was.
Keep like recently.
Yeah, last year it was the really accurate umpire. I want to say his name is Hoberg.
Okay.
Is this ringing bell? Anybody in the
No,
chat?
It's not ringing any bell to me, but I might have just like tuned it out. But like with the same weird betting patterns that are going on, like I hope they're looking at both sides of it. Yeah, which I know that. Oh, okay. Because I would imagine the players union, it wants to be super protective, but baseball would want to keep as close to. They would rather keep under wraps, I would imagine, an investigation of a player than they would an umpire.
Yeah. So this guy, this was last year. He was widely regarded as the best ball strike umpire in the league. And then June of 2024, he was disciplined following an investigation of the league's gambling rules. And then he was fired after the fact. And then they said in February of this year, he can apply for reinstatement next season. But I remember this because those umpire scorecards on Twitter, they would always go around. And this guy was always like 99, 98% accurate. And then he got busted. So it is happening all over the place.
Yeah, apparently he also lost the appeal he was going for as well. Pat Hoberg.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, there you go. It was super fun talking about this stuff with baseball, right? That furthers the sport. And then on top of it, hey, let's all think about a work stoppage in 2027. Really good times for baseball.
There's only going to be more of these coming, man. Over the years, there's only going to be more of these players that get caught. It's going to get worse, not better, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's some internal things they can do in the fixing of like, the calls, robo-umping, and you got to have a ban on the individual pitch stuff. That would be probably one of the most important things, but the only people that are doing it are like, I think, offshore stuff as far as I know. So who knows? Craziness. All right. Let's hit just a couple questions and then keep going through here. Any pitching waiver wire pickups that can replace Chris Bubic? If you didn't hear, Chris Bubic out for the year. He is done. I think is out for it is correct. He's out for the year, right? Yeah. I didn't want to think I was making that up in my head. Any waiver wire pickups as far as pitchers right now that you're looking to pick up if you lost Bubic?
I mean, I mentioned Slade Ciccone earlier. He doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, but he's been pretty effective. The only thing is, who knows what's going to happen later this week if they keep suspending Guardians pitchers. I think he's probably fine, but who the hell knows at this point?
I think I'm going to be fine. I'm not going to speculate on which Guardians or anything like that. You just go with your Guardians and everything, and then just cross your fingers, hold on to your butts.
Luis Gil is going to be back. I think there was a question about him, but it looks like he's coming back, and he's going to be lined up to start against the Marlins on the weekend. So if he's still sitting out there, I think he's less than 50% on Yahoo. And another one that's less than 50% on Yahoo that I was shocked about writing an article this weekend, Edward Cabrera. It's like 47% rostered. Probably gone in most competitive leagues, but take a look. If you're in a 10 or a 12 teamer, decent chance he's out there.
And if he gets traded, there might be an incredible destination on, in his future. That was a big thing we talked about with Sandy Alcantara. Yeah, maybe, I mean, there are rumors going on here, and that actually, we'll come back to a couple of questions, but that leads us to transactions. One of the reports out there with the Marlins has been saying that the Marlins are actually not like for sure going to trade Sandy Alcantara because they are valuing Sandy like the Cy Young Award winner, Sandy. And if a team is not willing to pay that price because he has controllable years, I agree with them in this instance. I actually did this in fantasy where someone was trying to give me nothing for him. And I'm like, I'm going to hold on and see if he gets traded to a good place. There's money attached to it and everything in fantasy. But I think this is the play. If you don't get the money, then you let him, if they, and the report also said that they felt that they found the fix with Sandy, quote, but if they really truly did, let him have 2 really good months and sell him in the offseason instead of just trying to get rid of him right now. So that's the play. But that might lead to the team being a little bit more aggressive in trading Edward Cabrera. So, I don't know, maybe both could go, maybe neither one of them go. But it seems like Edward Cabrera might now be leaning as the more likely pitcher to be moved before Sandy Alcantara. So. For
me, I just think Sandy should go. Like, if they trade him in the offseason, that's fine. But there's no, they should not have him at the end of this contract. There's no need to have. He's signed through 2027, or he's got a club option for 27, and the Marlins are not doing anything over the next 2 years. So whether it's at this deadline or whether it's in the offseason, they need to trade him. They should probably trade everybody, if we're being honest, other than like Kyle Stowers and just start all over again.
Well, they said they're willing to, but the market sucks. I think so far it's been proven that the market stinks. No one is hyper aggressive, and everybody is this like, oh, I'm kind of competitive. And I mean, it's actually like a really crappy dynasty. It's like a really crappy keeper league right now. Everyone's like, well, I want the stuff, but I don't want to give anything, and it's just like, okay, then. The teams are being more like me. I'm stubborn. It's like, well, then I'm not going to trade you. Like, I will go down with the ship. I will lose a guy out of spite instead of getting absolutely nothing. Speaking of transactions, we had a couple trades go down. The Brewers acquired Danny Jansen from the Rays for Jadir Arenamo, who I've seen a bunch. Probably can't say his name correctly, but really, really weird, interesting swing and approach, but some pretty good numbers. Actually, a pretty good get for Danny Jansen. But thought that was interesting that the Brewers decided, they needed to have that extra coverage at catcher, and probably also eliminates a rookie in Jefferson Caro that never coming up. And then the Tigers acquired Chris Paddock and Randy Dobnak for Enrique Jimenez, a catcher from the Twins. So The Chris Paddock part of it is kind of interesting because he has held his own, and he's going to go into a Tigers rotation, which they probably wanted something sexier, but there apparently were a couple teams that were interested in Paddock. So is Chris Paddock more of a fantasy option now for you with the Detroit Tigers?
I just can't really see it. Like, he has a 4.95 ERA, 130 whip. The ERA estimators aren't great. Theoretically, he gets a better chance at a win, but he's also got a worse pen now. Like, in Minnesota, you got Griffin Jacks, Juan Duran you're handing things off to, and now you got Will Vest, Tommy Conley. Like, it's not as good in the later innings. Now, Minnesota might trade those guys either way, but Paddock has 3 wins this season. He's had stretches. There was that, like, 7 or 8 stretch run, I want to say, in like May and June, where he was really good. But I saw a lot of people running to the wire in like my Yahoo home league. People picked him up. Like, I don't know. If it's a deep league, sure. But if it's like a 10 or a 12 teamer, I can't really see it for Paddock personally.
Shout out to some of our Twitch people too, by the way. Jay Gilly, first time chatter. Lee Gold resubbed. That is something that you can do on the Twitch, which also gets you some access to the Fantasy Pros Discord when you get a Twitch sub. You can get this Twitch sub for free with Amazon Prime, or you can jump in here, watch us live. Make sure you're out here hanging with the boys on twitch.tv/fantasypros. So thanks to all the new timers, the resubbers, people that are doing bits and all that type of stuff. Want to give a little shout out to everybody there. Not just the giveaways on the YouTube, but also some love on the Twitch. Rookie Lookie, Giants selected Carson Whisenhunt from AAA. I think he kind of had a similar line to what I mentioned. 5 innings, 4 earned runs. I think he had less strikeouts maybe than I had anticipated. 3 Ks. The changeup was in full force. Colson Montgomery, 2-run homer, RBI, where the White Sox beat up on Chris Sanchez, which was unexpected and blew up my betting day. But Colson Montgomery has just been absolutely dude territory since he's been up. Troy Melton blanked the Diamondbacks, 7 innings, striking out 5 to earn his first major league victory on Monday. And Roman Anthony is going to be leading off for the Red Sox going forward. So some interesting rookie stuff out of that. Carson Whisenhunt, Montgomery, Melton, obviously different positions, but who is the closest to a must-own of that territory of those guys?
I want to say it's probably Melton, just considering the Tigers are probably going to need some innings down the stretch. What he's done in the minors has been very impressive. If you look this season, it was a 2.99 ERA with a 26% strikeout minus walk rate. Whip is a little bit high for him. He gives up too many hits, but I think, you're looking at a guy positioned for a good amount of wins, pitching for a good team. If he stays up, and I think he probably will, I think I would go with Melton there.
You know what I think is interesting too? There's a rumor that the Tigers are trying to get in on the Suarez sweepstakes. I think Troy Melton could be one of those guys. I think he could be one of those players that they look at moving, because the Diamondbacks want pitchers. So just be on the lookout for that. The rumor was that they don't want to let the D-backs leave, and they don't want Suarez to leave. They want to get a deal done before that. So I would not be shocked if he was one of the frontliners for that. Also on the rumor mill, by the way, we should have put this with the transactions. It was just placed differently. Ken Rosenthal, The Athletic, said the Dodgers, Blue Jays, Phillies, Padres have all showed some interest in Steven Kwan. I do not believe that Steven Kwan is going to get traded, but that was also before there was apparently a team-wide gambling controversy that was going on. I just don't know. I just think he's too good with, I believe, still control. I just do not believe. I didn't believe Clase would get traded either. And technically I'm right, but it's because he's also not going to ever play again. But I don't think Steven Kwan is going to get traded. Let me ask you this. Do you think there's going to be a blockbuster trade? I think there are guys we expect. We expect Keller. We expect Suarez. We expect Gallen. In the non-expected range is like Duran, Joe Ryan, and I would say like Steven Kwan. Do you think we are going to get at least one of the non-expected or even bigger pieces get moved, or do you think it's going to be a pretty status quo deadline?
There's usually one kind of big, semi-big move. I thought Jarren Duran, both Durans could potentially get moved. I thought Jarren Duran was going to get moved for a while. I don't know how likely that is now. The Red Sox, Padres, Duran for Cease or something along those lines. I thought that was going to happen for a while. Maybe it still does. I'm kind of leaning more towards a quiet deadline at this point, though, just because there aren't really a bunch of big marquee names like Eugenio Suarez. he's got a magnet in his wrist. He keeps getting hit in the hand. I think he's all right, but like Lugo got re-signed. There's the whole thing in Cleveland now. Like I feel like a lot of these players we thought were going to get moved are now, for one reason or another, not going to get moved. Suarez probably still is, but I'm leaning more towards kind of underwhelming at this point.
I do. I agree. I think it's going to be a relatively underwhelming. I hope it's not, but I am leaning underwhelming. 3 up, 3 down. On the up, Framber Valdez wasn't in the decision, but he allowed only 1 run, 6 innings, striking out 12 on Monday. Yoshinobu Yamamoto limited the Reds to 1 run over 7 innings, had 9 strikeouts. And on the other side, Chase Burns, 10 strikeouts in 5 2/3, allowed 3 runs. That is 3 straight 10K strikeout performances from Burns, but his ERA is still pretty inflated. Joe wrote a lot of this, by the way, not Orrico, but Pizapia. Just wants to make sure that, yes, he was amazing, but you got to still know that he has a bad ERA, which he's not necessarily wrong about, but this is the transition of Chase Burns. It's high strikeouts, him trying to go deep into games. He's got to limit the homers. It's a little bit of a problem, and this earned runs, but I think he's not a thrower. He's an elite pitcher that's still kind of learning the process. On the down, Chris Sanchez surrendered 4 runs in 6 2/3 and a loss to the White Sox. Eduardo Rodriguez, 5 runs in 6 innings for the loss. And Matt Boyd, another guy I bet on outside of this, outside of my bet card, he had 5 runs, 5 walks against the Brewers. And the Brewers were just murder balling him. They were just beating him around, which was sad. On the injuries, you mentioned Emmanuel Suarez was hit on the wrist. Everybody held their breath. X-rays came back negative. The Diamondbacks have to not play him if they're trading him. That's the thing. Like, it's everything. Sigh of relief. I think he's not playing as a Diamondback again. And unless he doesn't get traded, which I think is a possibility if they want to re-sign him, there's no chance you play him right now and you just let the trade stuff work out. Because you said there's a magnet in there that has a baseball going to it. The guy keeps getting hit. It was an all-star game. It's here. Almost could have cost us. No fractures, though. So big sigh of relief. As mentioned before, Royals, they mentioned that Chris Bubich is going to miss the rest of the season. Reese Olson on the 60-day with a right shoulder strain. I think that's the season. Felix Bautista underwent an MRI that revealed inflammation. So all of those are really bad for fantasy. Blake Snell on a positive is going to be starting this weekend against the Rays. Tommy Edman is on the inverse for the Dodgers. Looks like he might be potentially going back on the injured list because of a lingering ankle issue. So that's a win for Joe. Grant Holmes going to require Tommy John surgery. That's another brutal blow. Dude, rank these teams in order of horrible injury luck this year. Braves, Astros, Diamondbacks. So from, I guess, worst luck to least luck.
Braves, Astros, Diamondbacks. Braves have had it pretty rough. I think they're the top. D-backs, I mean, both closers going out for the D-backs.
Corbin Burns, yep. Carroll missed time. Cattell missed time.
Eugenio with his hand.
Probably on the IL. I mean,
probably the D-backs in second there. But the Braves, man, I didn't see that Grant Holmes thing. That's brutal. I really like Grant Holmes. That sucks. That sucks, man.
Someone said Yankees. It's in there, but guess what? Yankees also, they've got a little bit of it, but I just don't think they compare. Clark Schmidt is going to have Tommy, or no, I believe he's going to undergo the internal brace procedure rather than Tommy John, which is like, it doesn't matter for this year, but that might allow him to pitch next season. It's never good. Jacob Wilson was out of the lineup, 3rd straight game on Monday. Michael King faced hitters on Monday in a live batting practice session. So the ever ongoing mystery of Michael King might end soon. You mentioned Luis Heel got a rehab start on Tuesday, and Roldis Chapman was unavailable for the Monday series due to a back thing. So I think a lot of people were wondering what was going on. And then I believe there was an implosion by Hicks. So Roldis Chapman, come on back down, my friends. All right, bets. My bets were horrible. Let's see if they're better today, or we just get a little infusion of Joe Orrico. What do you got on the betting card today, my friend?
I'm thinking all strikeout overs. It looks like a little bit of a ladder. Joe Boyle over 4.5. He's been hitting 7 pretty consistently. It's a little bit juiced, -130, but I'll take that. Mike Soroka, who's been one of the better pitchers that nobody talks about this year, especially in the strikeout department, over 5.5 strikeouts for him against the Astros. And then Jesus Luzardo, I don't know what to do with him anymore. Like, I really don't. But the one thing you can count on from him, even if it's not ratios, it usually is strikeouts. So over 5.5, over 6.5, I've seen both of those numbers against the White Sox. Give us something, Jesus. You've given us nothing now for a while. I think you can hit the strikeout over today.
Yeah, I was tempted. I thought their lines were really rough though. For all the strikeout props, there were a lot of guys I wanted to get involved with, but everything was just like heavy juice or pushing the limit, and then the unders were the same thing. But also, I mean, I was garbage. I went with 2 unders yesterday, and they were just embarrassingly not good. So I don't have any on the player props. It's game lines here. Game 2 for Toronto, backing Eric Lauer. I'm going on the run line for your Blue Jays at +1. It's gonna be like 120 to 125 in different books. I got it at 123. So game 2 run line for them to win by 2, backing Eric Lauer. I'm going with the Nerfy, your Joe Boyle and Max Fried. So Yankees, Tampa Bay, no runs through the first inning. Definitely like Boyle being able to get through that Yankee lineup at the top without Aaron Judge. That makes me feel a lot better. Max Fried is an absolute demon on there. That's -120. So that's a pretty good price on a Nerfy. And I'm going to back Boston on the money line today with our buddy Lucas Giolito. And that is against the Twins, who have an unannounced pitcher right now. So Twins in trading mode, Boston in must-win mode. So give me Boston on the money line with that Nerfy and the game 2 run line. Those are my best bets, and you guys can also make some best bets by using our code if we get that bad boy up there with FanDuel. Yes, you can bet $5, win $250 if your first bet hits. Use our offer, fantasypros.com/leading off, fantasypros.com/leading off, and you can get Betting Pros Premium. Get 7 days free. Look at me and Joe. We're so happy. Downloading the Betting Pros app, use code leading off, get 7-day free trial. It is an incredibly great app, by the way, with so many cool things. It's got the calendar view. I know a lot of people, I think it's like in the Pickett world. We've got that, the tracking, all the data that's in there. There's very kind of like social feel too. You can create groups. You can have a leaderboard and track. There's so many cool things, from whether it is the tracking side of it or it's jumping in and trying to do your best analysis for your picks. Plus, we've got featured picks and stuff. So go and check it out today. Download the Betting Pros app, and leading off on the code, we'll give you 7 days free. Let's go to the home run board real quick, and then we'll do a couple quick questions at the end. We got a tie at the top still. Georgian Whips with 44. They are 3 homers above the next person. So it's not a runaway, but they are battling this out. Positive Grouch at 41. Far out with 40. So we have 4 people 40 plus. Wonky is in the top 10 at 36. Wonky's doing a killer job. I am not. Apparently, what is it? Shariz at the bottom has 2, two bets or 2 pieces of it. They're 19 and 20. What is the word I'm looking for? It's like they have 2 shots. I don't know. Whatever. The show's been a disaster since the top, so I don't even know what to say. I have no words for any of it. Home run calls, it doesn't matter what I do. PCP is not getting on there. I'll probably never get on there as well. Orrico, you didn't even do it enough this year, but I think if we did a percentage-wise, you would be doing good. Thank you, Billy. I couldn't say a count. I literally couldn't say a count. Everything is lost here. Who you got for your home run call today?
Yeah, I spent so much time on the IL in April and May that I fell very far behind, so no chance at the Triple Crown for me. But I'm going Andy Pages today against Nick Lodolo, Great American Small Park, righty versus lefty. And I believe it's +400, depending on your book, if you're looking to bet that. Andy Pages looking for his 20th homer of the season as well.
I like that one. I'm going to go with the Schwarbs. Give me the Schwarb man going up against Jonathan Cannon. There should have been runs. I don't know. I mean, the White Sox do some crazy stuff right now with holding back. I don't know how they held Philly back. I'm going with a Schwarb fest today. Jonathan Cannon's had some home run problems. So this is just a easy layup for me that I'm going for here on the Schwarbs. Probably going to be around 2.5 to 1, which you guys can go and check out. Yes, on FanDuel. Let's hit just a couple quick questions. It's a long show today, but we're just giving you a couple long ones. Rapid fire, Mr. Joe Orrico. Langford, 10-team redraft. Yay or nay? Are you good with it, or you want out?
No, I'm not cutting him or anything.
No, I don't say necessarily cut, but would you like move on, or are you comfortable with him?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I mean, he's been a little bit disappointing, but at the end of the day, he's still probably going to have like a 25-20 season or something. So I'll be fine to hold on and buy back next year as well.
I didn't bring up any I told you so's to Joe Pisapia, but Jack Leiter has been quite good. And Michael Harris, since the break, has been pretty damn good as well. Looks like he's finding his stride again. Harris or Laureano rest of season. Easy Michael Harris for me.
Yeah, I'll take Harris. Laureano's been great, though. He has.
Yeah? Over Michael Harris?
I mean, I'm taking Harris, but Laureano deserves to be rostered, I think, everywhere as well right now.
Drop Walker, I'm assuming Christian Walker or Soderstrom rest of season for Michael Busch. I would take Michael Busch over both of them.
I will too. They moved him up to the leadoff spot, and he's been struggling, but I think he's a good little buy right now.
Who would you drop, Walker or Soderstrom?
Probably Walker.
I feel like I would drop Soderstrom, but maybe. Trade Mason Miller and Giolito to get Logan Gilbert and Shelby Miller. So this is essentially trade Mason Miller to get Logan Gilbert. Yes. Yeah. I don't know if Shelby Miller comes back and is the closer there at all. So we'll see.
Who else would be the closer? You know who else would be
Ginkle? Oh, yeah. Ginkle's the guy right now. I mean, Shelby might get those opportunities, but he was shaky before he got hurt. He's been hurt. Ginkle's the guy right now. But how many saves are the Diamondbacks going to get? All right, friends, that is it. Chaos of a show. Unfortunately, PSP is going to be like, oh, you guys can't do it without me. It was chaos today, but we did do it. We'll get all the hating on Leiter, hating on Michael Harris tomorrow. Pia is back. Make sure you go and follow Joe Orrico. Joe Orrico 99. You can follow me at Is It The Welsh. Hat tip to our boys in the back, Seth and Callie. Make sure you guys are subscribed on the YouTube. 2 more days for that jersey. Only 2 more days. Make a comment on any of the videos for this month. Make sure you're subscribed. You got a chance to win. And friends, that is, there you go. That is it for the Peanuts, the Cracker Jacks, Orrico, myself, Seth, Callie. We are out of here. Peace out. Goodbye. Go away. Don't bet on stuff either. Unless you use our codes, but don't bet if you're a professional baseball player.
Unless you live in Cleveland. My God, man. How stupid can you be? How stupid can they be?
Allegedly.
Allegedly stupid.
Allegedly. WN.